The morning sun cast long shadows across the crashed ship as Captain Jake walked through the wreckage. His boots crunched on broken metal and scattered debris. 3 days had passed since the enemy attack on New Earth Colony. He was still finding pieces of destroyed vehicles everywhere. Jake had been a soldier for 12 years. He'd seen plenty of battles, lost good friends, and learned to keep his emotions locked away. But nothing had prepared him for what he found that morning behind the twisted remains of what looked like an alien transport vessel. She was sitting there, holding 2 small children close to her chest. At first, Jake thought she might be human, but as he got closer, he realized she was something else entirely. Her skin seemed to glow with a soft blue light, and her eyes were the color of deep ocean water. She was beautiful in a way that made Jake stop walking and just stare. The woman looked up at him with those incredible eyes, and Jake could see pure terror mixed with desperate hope. She was shaking, and the 2 little ones in her arms were so still he worried they might already be gone. But then one of them moved slightly, and Jake saw they were breathing. "Please," she whispered in broken English, her voice like music even through her fear. "Please help my babies." Jake looked around quickly. No one else was nearby, which was good because finding aliens on the colony grounds was serious business. The kind of business that could get a soldier in big trouble. But seeing this woman holding her children, looking at him like he was her only hope in the world, Jake couldn't just walk away. He knelt down slowly, keeping his hands visible so he wouldn't scare her more. "What happened to you?" he asked gently. The woman's eyes filled with tears. "My home. Gone. My husband. They took him." She struggled with the words, clearly not used to speaking human language. "Bad ones came, destroyed everything. I run with my little ones." Jake noticed the children more closely now. They were twins, he realized, maybe 4 or 5 years old. They had the same glowing skin as their mother, but their light seemed weaker, like candles about to go out. Their breathing was shallow and they looked sick. "Are they hurt?" Jake asked, reaching out carefully toward one of the children. The mother pulled them closer protectively, then seemed to force herself to relax. "Not hurt with blood," she said, searching for the right words. "Hurt in here." She touched her chest. "When we leave our world, children get sick. They need, how you say, special energy from home." Jake felt his heart sink. These kids were dying and their mother knew it. That's why she was here, begging a human soldier for help. She had nowhere else to go. "What's your name?" he asked softly. "I am Vera," she replied. "These are my children, Luna and Sky." She looked at the little boy and girl with such love that Jake had to look away for a moment. "I'm Jake," he said. "I'm a soldier here." Vera's eyes brightened with a spark of hope. "Soldier, you are strong. You can protect." Jake nodded slowly, though he wasn't sure what he was agreeing to protect them from. "Who destroyed your world, Vera?" Her face darkened with fear and anger. "The Dark Ones. They come like storm cloud. Destroy everything good. They take prisoners, make them work until they die. I hear they come for your people next." This got Jake's attention. Intelligence reports had been talking about a mysterious enemy force moving through this sector of space, but Command didn't know much about them. Here was someone who had actually faced them. "Vera," Jake said carefully, "what you're telling me is very important. My leaders need to know about these Dark Ones." She nodded eagerly. Yes, I tell you everything. I know their ships, their weapons, their plans." Then her face fell. "But first, my babies. They are dying, Jake. Each day they get weaker. Soon they will fade away like morning mist." Jake looked at the twins again. Luna, the little girl, had opened her eyes and was looking at him with curiosity rather than fear. Sky, the boy, was resting his head against his mother's shoulder, but Jake could see intelligence in his gaze. "What do you need me to do?" Jake asked, though he already suspected the answer would change his life forever. Vera took a shaky breath. "I cannot live long away from my world either. The Dark Ones will find me soon. But humans, you're strong. You survive anywhere. Take my children. Love them like your own. Give them a chance to grow up safe." Jake felt like he'd been punched in the stomach. She was asking him to adopt her children, to become their father. Him, a career soldier who'd never even had a pet, much less kids. Vera, I don't know anything about raising children, especially alien children. You have good heart, she said with certainty. I see it in your eyes. You will learn. Children teach you how to love them. Just then, they heard voices in the distance. Other soldiers were coming this way, probably doing their own search of the wreckage. Jake had seconds to decide what to do. Can you walk? He asked quickly. Vera struggled to her feet, still holding both children. She was weaker than she'd let on, Jake realized. Luna wrapped her small arms around her mother's neck while Sky just hung limply in her other arm. Me, Jake said, making a decision that would change everything. Stay quiet and stay close. He led them away from the crash site, toward an old storage building that had been damaged in the attack. It wasn't much, but it would give them shelter while he figured out what to do next. As they walked, Jake couldn't stop thinking about what Vera had said. The Dark Ones were coming for Earth. Her children were dying. Somehow, he was the only one who could help them. Looking back at this moment later, Jake would realize that his old life ended the moment he found Vera and her twins in that wreckage. Everything that happened after would be about protecting this strange little family that had fallen into his world like stars from heaven. But right now, all he could think about was getting them somewhere safe and figuring out how to keep them alive. The weight of responsibility was already settling on his shoulders, heavier than any military gear he'd ever carried. As they reached the shelter, Luna looked up at him with those bright, alien eyes and smiled. It was the first time Jake had seen her smile, and it hit him like a lightning bolt. Maybe, just maybe, he could do this after all. Jake's small apartment felt even smaller, with 3 extra people inside. He'd managed to sneak Vera and the twins through the back corridors of the colony without anyone seeing them. But now what? He sat on his old couch, watching Vera try to comfort her children who seemed to be getting weaker by the hour. They need food, Vera said quietly, her voice filled with worry. But not your food. They need light energy from crystals that grow in our world. Jake rubbed his tired eyes. What happens if they don't get it? They fade away, Vera whispered, tears rolling down her glowing cheeks, like flowers without sun. Luna, the little girl, was curled up against her mother's side. Her skin, which had been softly glowing yesterday, now looked dull and gray. Sky, the boy, was even worse. He hadn't opened his eyes in hours. There. Has to be something we can do, Jake said, feeling helpless. He'd faced enemy armies, but watching these children slowly die was the hardest thing he'd ever experienced. Vera looked at him with those deep blue eyes. There is one way, but it will cost everything. Tell me. She took a shaky breath. I can give them my life energy. Share what I have left. We'll keep them alive longer, but ... double quotes. She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. Jake felt his heart stop. No, there has to be another way. Jake, Vera said softly, I am dying too. Being away from our world kills us slowly. But I am grown. I can last longer than children. If I give them my strength, maybe they live long enough for you to find safe place for them. Before Jake could respond, someone knocked loudly on his door. They all froze. Jake, open up. It's me, Tom. Jake recognized his best friend's voice. Tom was the colony's doctor, and Jake trusted him more than anyone. But bringing more people into this secret was dangerous. Hide in the bedroom, Jake whispered. To Vera, don't make any sound. Vera gathered her children and quietly moved to the back room. Jake waited a moment, then opened the door. Tom pushed past him, looking excited. Jake, you won't believe what I found in the medical bay. There are readings of some kind of energy signature that I've never seen before. It's like nothing human, but it's beautiful. Complex. Alive. Jake's blood ran cold. Tom was picking up the alien's energy signatures. That's interesting, Jake said, trying to sound normal. Tom studied his friend's face. You look terrible. Are you sick? Just tired from cleanup duty? Jake lied. But Tom was too smart. He'd known Jake for years, and he could tell when something was wrong. What's going on, Jake? You're acting strange. Just then, they heard a soft cry from the bedroom. Luna was calling for her mother in her alien language. Tom's eyes went wide. What was that? Jake knew it was over. He couldn't lie to Tom anymore. Sit down, he said heavily. I need to tell you something. Jake, please tell me you didn't do something stupid. That depends on how you define stupid, Jake said, then called out, Vera, you can come out. Tom nearly fell off his chair when Vera appeared, carrying both children. His mouth opened and closed like a fish as he stared at them. Tom, meet Vera, Luna, and Sky. They're refugees from the world the Dark Ones destroyed. Dark Ones? Tom whispered. The enemy that's been attacking colonies? Vera has information about them, but right now her children are dying. They need some kind of energy that only exists on their home world. Tom, being a doctor, immediately went into medical mode. Let me examine them, he said, pulling out his scanner. Is it safe? Vera asked Jake. Tom's a good man, Jake assured her. He'll help if he can. Tom ran his scanner over the children, frowning at the readings. This is incredible. Their cellular structure is completely different from humans, but somehow similar to what it's like. They're made of light itself. Can you help them? Jake asked. Tom looked at the data again. Their energy levels are dangerously low. Whatever powers their bodies is almost gone. He looked at Vera. How long do they have? 2 days, maybe 3, Vera said sadly. What about you? Tom asked, scanning her too. I live longer, but not much. Maybe 1 week. Tom sat back, looking overwhelmed. Jake, do you realize what you've done? Hiding enemy aliens is against every regulation in the book. They could court-martial you for this. They're not enemies, Jake said firmly. They're a mother and her children running for their lives. That doesn't matter to command, Tom said. Colonel Harris has been looking for any excuse to crack down on security. If he finds out about this, then we make sure he doesn't find out, Jake said. Tom stared at him. Are you asking me to risk my career for aliens I don't even know? Vera spoke up quietly. Dr. Tom, I have information your people need. The Dark Ones are not just raiders. They're coming to destroy your world like they destroyed mine. I know their weakness, their plans. I will tell you everything, but please, save my children first. Tom looked at the twins. Luna had managed to sit up and was looking at him with curious eyes. Sky was breathing easier now that his mother was. Nier? What kind of information? Tom asked. They have a mothership hiding in the asteroid belt near your system. It is not protected like their warships. If your people attack it, their whole fleet will be helpless. Jake and Tom exchanged glances. Information like this could change the entire war. But Vera continued, Once I tell you this, they will hunt me until I am dead. They cannot let me live knowing their secret. Tom was quiet for a long moment. Thinking, finally, he said, there might be a way to help the children. I'd need to study their energy patterns. Maybe create some kind of artificial power source. How long would that take? Jake asked. Days? Maybe weeks. I'd have to work. In secret, and I'd need them close by for testing. Weeks, Jake said. Vera said they only have days. Tom looked at Vera. What if you gave them some of your energy? Would that buy us more time? Vera nodded. Yes, but each time I do it, I become weaker. Eventually I will have nothing left to give. Jake felt the weight of the decision crushing down on him. If they tried to save the children, Vera would die. If they didn't try, all 3 of them would die anyway. There's something else, Tom said quietly. Colonel Harris has called for a full security sweep of the colony. He's looking for anything unusual after the attack. He'll search every room, every building. Jake's heart sank. When? Tomorrow morning. They all sat in silence, knowing what this meant. There was nowhere to hide 3 aliens during a full security sweep. I have to turn myself in, Vera said finally. Maybe if I give them the information about the mothership, they will let my children live. No, Jake said firmly. They'll probably execute you as a spy and put the children in some kind of research facility. Then what do we do? Tom asked. Jake looked at Vera and her children, then at his best friend who was risking everything to help them. Sometimes there were no good choices. Only necessary ones were run, Jake said. Tonight, all of us. Jake, if we do this, we can never come back, Tom warned. We'll be fugitives. Jake looked at Luna, who had fallen asleep against her mother's shoulder, and Sky, who was breathing so softly he could barely see it. Some things are worth becoming a fugitive for, he said. As the night grew darker outside, Jake began planning their escape. He didn't know where they would go or how they would survive. But he knew one thing for certain. He wouldn't let this family die. Not on his watch. Part 3. The Bond forms. The old mining caves were cold and damp, but they were hidden deep in the mountains where no one would think to look. Jake had found this place during a training exercise years ago, and now it was their only hope for shelter. Not much, Jake said, as he helped Vera settle the twins on some old blankets he'd brought from the colony. But it's safe. Vera looked around the rocky cave and smiled weakly. It is perfect. Thank you, Jake. 3 days had passed since they'd escaped the colony in the middle of the night. Tom had created a distraction by setting off a false alarm in the medical bay, giving them time to slip away through the old maintenance tunnels. Now they were living like refugees in the wilderness. But at least they were alive. The children seemed a little better away from all the metal and machinery. Of the colony, Luna had started talking again, mixing her alien language with the few English words she knew. Sky was sitting up more, though he still stayed close to his mother. "Mama," Luna said, tugging on Vera's sleeve, "I'm hungry." Jake watched as Vera's face filled with sadness. They'd brought some human food, but the children couldn't eat it. They needed that special energy from their home world, and Vera was the only source they had. "Come here, little star," Vera said softly, pulling Luna onto her lap. She placed her hands on Luna's forehead, and Jake watched in amazement as a soft blue light passed between them. Luna's skin brightened, and she smiled. But Jake noticed that Vera looked paler afterward. She was giving her own life force to keep her children alive, just like she'd said she would. "Sky's turn," Vera said, reaching for her son. Jake knelt beside them. "Vera, you're making yourself weaker every time you do this." "I know," she replied, but her voice was determined. "Look at them. They are worth everything." Sky curled up against his mother as she shared her energy with him too. His breathing became deeper, and some color returned to his cheeks. "Me about their father," Jake said, trying to distract Vera from her tiredness. Vera's eyes grew distant. "David was a kind man. He made me laugh every day. He loved the children so much." She paused, fighting back tears. "He was trying to negotiate peace when the Dark Ones came. They said they wanted to talk, but it was trap." Jake felt anger rising in his chest. "What did they do to him?" "They took him with other leaders. We never saw them again." Vera's voice became very quiet. "David's last message to me was to take the children and run. He said to find humans, that you would help us." "He was right," Jake said firmly. Over the next few days, Jake learned more about Vera's people and their beautiful world. She told him about cities that floated in the clouds, about crystals that sang in the wind, about gardens where flowers glowed like stars. She taught him words in her language, and he helped her practice more English. Luna was the first to warm up to Jake completely. She followed him everywhere, chattering away in her musical voice. She would bring him pretty rocks she found in the cave, and Jake would pretend they were precious treasures. "Jake good," Luna announced one morning, patting his cheek with her small hand. "You're pretty good too, little star," Jake replied, using Vera's pet name for her. Sky was more cautious, but Jake could see the boy watching him carefully. Sky seemed to sense emotions better than anyone. When Jake was worried, Sky would come sit beside him quietly. When Jake was happy, Sky would smile too. "He likes you," Vera explained. "Sky feels what others feel. It is a gift of our people." "Is that why he knew I was safe?" Jake asked. Vera nodded. "He feels your heart. He knows you care for us." One evening, as they sat around their small fire, Vera began teaching Jake and the children an old song from her world. Her voice was beautiful, like water flowing over stones, and even though Jake couldn't understand all the words, he felt peaceful listening to it. "What's the song about?" Jake asked when she finished. "It's about family," Vera said. "Not just blood family, but chosen family. People who find each other when they need love most." Jake looked at the three aliens who had become the center of his world. "I think I understand." but their peaceful moment was interrupted by a distant rumbling sound. Jake's heart stopped as he recognized the noise of military vehicles. "They found us," he whispered. Vera grabbed both children, her eyes wide with fear. "The dark ones?" Jake listened carefully. "No, those are human vehicles. It's the colony security forces." Through the cave entrance, Jake could see lights moving. In the valley below, they were searching systematically, getting closer to the caves. "We have to go deeper," Jake said. Gathering their supplies quickly, but as they moved toward the back of the cave, Sky suddenly cried out in pain. The boy collapsed, his skin turning gray. "What's wrong?" Jake asked desperately. Vera knelt beside her son, her hands shaking. "The energy I gave him is fading faster now." Jake realized what was happening. Stress of constantly running and hiding was making the children sicker. They needed stability, safety, and most of all, they needed more energy than Vera had left to give. "Take what you need," Jake said, kneeling beside Sky. "What?" Vera looked confused. "Take my energy. Whatever you took from yourself, take it from me instead." "Jake, no. It could hurt you. Our energies are different. I don't care," Jake said firmly. "Try it." Vera looked at him with tears in her eyes. "You would risk your life for my son." "He's not just your son anymore," Jake said, and he meant it. "He's my son too." Vera placed one hand on Sky and one on Jake. Jake felt a strange tingling sensation. Then a warmth spread through his body. Didn't hurt, but it felt like something was being pulled from inside him. Sky's breathing improved immediately. His skin regained its soft glow, and he opened his eyes to look at Jake with wonder. "It worked," Vera whispered in amazement. "Your energy is compatible with ours." Jake felt tired but happy. "Yes. Does this mean I can help keep them alive?" Vera said, but her voice was sad. "But Jake, you must understand something. If you do this, you become connected to us forever. Our life forces will be linked." "What does that mean?" "It means you are truly their father now, not just in love, but in spirit. You will feel what they feel, know when they are in trouble, share their joys and sorrows." Jake looked at Luna, who was watching everything with curious eyes, and Sky, who was sitting up strong again. "I can't think of anything I'd want more," Jake said. Just then they heard voices echoing from the cave entrance. The soldiers had found them. "This way," someone shouted. The scanner detected life forms. Jake stood up, his mind racing. There was nowhere left to run, and the children were too weak for another escape. "Listen to me," he said to Vera. "Take the children and go to the back of the cave. There's a passage that leads to another exit. I'll hold them off." "Jake, no," Vera protested. "They will capture you." "Better me than all of us," Jake said. "Besides, needs to tell Tom about the mothership location. That information could save thousands of lives." Vera grabbed his hand. "I cannot lose you too. The children need their father." Jake squeezed her hand gently. "And they'll have me. I promise I'll find you again." As the soldiers got closer, Jake kissed Luna's forehead and ruffled Sky's hair. "Be brave, little ones. Daddy will see you soon." The word daddy felt natural coming from his lips, and he knew that no matter what happened next, these three aliens had become his real family. Vera looked at him with love and gratitude. "Thank you, Jake, for everything." "Thank you for trusting me with them," he replied, as Vera disappeared into the darkness with the children. Jake stepped toward the cave entrance to face whatever came next. He was no longer just a soldier following orders. He was a father protecting his family, and that made him stronger than he'd ever been before. Jake stepped out of the cave with his hands raised, squinting against the bright lights the soldiers were shining at him. Colonel Harris stood at the front of the group, his face hard and angry. Well, Harris said coldly. "Captain Jake. Wilson, the colony's golden boy. Tom told us you might be here." Jake's heart sank. Tom had been forced to reveal their location. "Colonel, I can explain." "Oh, I'm sure you can," Harris said. "Where are they, Jake?" "Where are the aliens you've been hiding?" "Gone," Jake lied. "They died from their sickness. I buried them in the mountains." Harris studied Jake's face, then nodded to his men. "Search every inch of this place. If there's so much as an alien hair, I want it found." As the soldiers spread out through the cave, Jake prayed that Vera and the children had found the back exit. He could hear them moving around, turning over rocks and checking every shadow. "Sir," one of the soldiers called out, "I found something." Jake's blood went cold as the soldier held up one of Luna's small blankets. The fabric still glowed faintly with her energy signature. "Still warm," the soldier reported. "Whatever was wrapped in this left recently." Harris smiled nastily. "So you lied to me, Jake. I'm disappointed but not surprised." He turned to his men. "Find them. They can't have gone far." "Colonel, wait," Jake said desperately. "Before you do anything, there's something you need to know. The aliens have information about the enemy fleet. Critical information that could save the colony." "What kind of information?" Harris demanded. Jake took a deep breath. "They know the location of the enemy mothership. It's hiding in the asteroid belt, unprotected. If we attack it, their whole fleet becomes helpless." Harris's eyes narrowed. "And why should I believe anything you say?" "You've been lying to me for days, 'cause it's true," came a voice from the cave entrance. Everyone turned to see Vera walking slowly toward them, her hands up in surrender. Nake's heart nearly stopped. "Vera, no," he shouted. But she kept walking, her chin held high despite her obvious fear. "I am Vera of the Crystal Falls. I have information your people need." "Where are the children?" Harris demanded. "Safe," Vera said simply. "They will stay safe until you hear what I have to say." Harris gestured to his men, and they quickly surrounded Vera. "You're in no position to make demands, alien." "Am not making demands," Vera said calmly. "I am making trade. Information for promise that children live." Jake watched in admiration as Vera faced down the armed soldiers without flinching. She was putting herself in danger to protect Luna and Sky, just like any mother would. "What information?" Harris asked. "The Dark Ones have weakness," Vera said. "Their mothership controls all smaller ships. It hides an asteroid field at edge of your system. Destroy it and war is over." Harris looked interested despite himself. "How do we know you're not lying?" Vera reached into her clothing and pulled out a small crystal device. "This has star charts, ship locations, everything you need. But first, you promised children go free." "I'm not promising anything to an enemy." "Spy," Harris said. "She's not a spy," Jake protested. "She's a refugee. Her husband was trying to make peace when the Dark Ones captured him." "Silence," Harris barked. "Out. You're already in enough trouble." "Colonel Harris, I know you have children. I see their pictures in your thoughts." Harris looked shocked. "How did you... ... My people feel emotions," Vera explained. "I feel your love for your family. You would do anything to protect them, yes?" Harris didn't answer, but Jake could see the question had hit home. "That is all I do," Vera continued. "Protect my children, just like you protect yours." For a moment, Harris seemed to waver. Then his expression hardened again. "Nice try, but I have my orders. All aliens are to be captured and questioned." "Then you doom your own people," Vera said sadly. "Dark Ones will be here in 3 days. Without this information, they will destroy everything." 3 days? Harris said sharply. "How do you know that?" "'Cause I was there when they planned it," Vera said. "I heard everything before I escaped." Jake could see Harris struggling with the decision. The colonel was a hard man, but he wasn't stupid. He knew how important this information could be. "Even if I wanted to help," Harris said finally, "I can't just let enemy aliens go free. Command would have my head." "Then let me take responsibility," Jake said. "I'll go with them. Make it look like I'm their guard, keeping them under control." "You're already facing court-martial," Harris pointed out. "Then I have nothing left to lose," Jake replied. Vera looked at him with surprise and gratitude. "Jake, no, you have done enough. You have life here, career, future." "My future is with you and the children," Jake said firmly. "That's the future I want." Harris watched this exchange with growing frustration. This is ridiculous. I'm not running a charity for alien refugees. "Colonel," came another voice. Tom appeared at the cave entrance, breathing hard from running. "I need to talk to you." Dr. Tom, you were supposed to stay at the colony, Harris said. I had to come. Colonel, I've been analyzing the energy readings from the aliens. Their technology is incredible. If we could study it, learn from it, we could revolutionize our own defenses. What are you saying? Harris asked. I'm saying that killing them would be a huge mistake. They're not just refugees, they're a resource. A living library of advanced science. Jake saw where Tom was going with this, the children especially. They're young. They could adapt to our world, learn our ways while keeping their knowledge. Vera looked between the two men, understanding dawning on her face. You want to study us? Not as prisoners, Tom said quickly. As partners, teachers? We could help each other. Harris considered this. Command might accept that. A joint research program, rather than just harboring enemy aliens. But the children must be free, Vera insisted. They are not test subjects. They'll be safe, Tom promised. I'll make sure of it. Vera looked at Jake and he nodded. It wasn't perfect, but it was better than execution or imprisonment. There is one more thing, Vera said quietly. I am dying. The sickness that affects children affects adults too, just slower. I have maybe days left. Jake felt like he'd been punched. No, we'll find a way to help you. Vera smiled sadly. I have been dying since the moment I left my world. I accepted this long ago. But now I know my children will be safe with you, Vera. Promise me, she said urgently, grabbing his hands. Promise me you will tell them about their father, about our world, about who they really are. I promise, Jake said, his voice thick with emotion. Promise me you will love them not just as your children, but as themselves. Let them be proud of what they are. I promise that too. Vera nodded, then turned to Harris. We'll give you the information now. But first, you must perform the binding ceremony. What's that? Harris asked suspiciously. It makes Jake legal guardian of my children in the eyes of my people. No one can take them from him then. Harris looked annoyed. We don't have time for alien ceremonies, and you don't get the information, Vera said simply. Jake watched as Harris weighed his options. Finally, the colonel nodded. Fine. What do we need to do? Vera smiled, and for the first time since Jake had known her, she looked truly happy. Just witness, she said. The rest is between Jake and the children. As if she had called them, Luna and Sky appeared at the cave entrance. They had been hiding, but somehow they knew their mother needed them. Mama, Luna called out, running. To Vera, despite all the soldiers, Sky followed more slowly, his eyes wide as he took in the scene. Vera knelt down and gathered both children in her arms. My little stars, she whispered. It is time to say goodbye. Jake knelt beside them, his heart breaking as he realized what was about to happen. Vera was going to use the last of her energy to complete the bonding ceremony, and it would cost her everything. Are you sure? He asked her quietly. I've never been more sure of anything, Vera replied. Take care of them, Jake. Love them like I do. I will, Jake promised. I already do. As Vera began the ceremony, speaking in her musical language while placing the children's hands in Jake's, Jake felt the energy connection between them grow stronger. Luna and Sky were truly becoming his children, bound to him by love and sacrifice. When it was over, Vera collapsed. She had given everything she had to ensure her children's future. The crystal, she whispered, pressing the device into Jake's hand. Give it to them. Save your people. Jake held her as she closed her eyes for the last time, her children crying softly beside them. In that moment, Jake understood what it truly meant to be a father. It wasn't just about protection or love. It was about carrying on someone's legacy, honoring their sacrifice, and making sure their story lived on. He looked at Luna and Sky, his children now, and a silent promise to Vera. He would make sure they never forgot where they came from. But he would also make sure they had a future worth living. 6 months had passed since that terrible day in the cave, and Jake still woke up sometimes expecting to see Vera making breakfast for the children. The grief came in waves, but watching Luna and Sky grow stronger every day helped heal his heart. The information Vera had given them changed everything. The human fleet found the Dark One's mothership exactly where she said it would be, hidden behind a large asteroid. When they destroyed it, the entire enemy fleet became confused and helpless, just like Vera had promised. A week, Jake stood on the porch of their new house, watching Luna chase butterflies in the garden while Sky sat quietly drawing pictures of the flowers. This was their home now, on a peaceful planet called Haven Ridge, far from the military bases and battlefields. "Daddy Jake," Luna called out, running toward him with a bright smile. "Look what I found." She held up a smooth blue stone that seemed to glow in the sunlight. Jake had learned that Luna was drawn to things that reminded her of her mother's world, especially anything that sparkled or shone. "That's beautiful, little star," Jake said, using Vera's old nickname for her. "What are you going to do with it?" "Put it with Mama's things," Luna said seriously. "She can see it when she visits in my dreams." Jake's heart squeezed. Luna often talked about seeing her mother in dreams, and Jake had learned not to question it. Whether it was real or just a child's way of coping, it seemed to comfort her. Sky looked up from his drawing and smiled shyly at Jake. The boy had grown more confident over the months. But he was still quieter than his sister. He had an amazing gift for feeling what others were feeling, which sometimes made him sad when he sensed Jake's grief. "What are you drawing today, buddy?" Jake asked, sitting down beside Sky. "Our family," Sky said, showing Jake the picture. Jake's breath caught. In the drawing, there were 4 figures: Jake, Luna, Sky, and a glowing woman standing behind them, with her hands on everyone's shoulders. "That's Mama," Sky explained. "She's still with us, just in a different way." "Yes, she is," Jake agreed, putting his arm around Sky. "She'll always be with us." The children had adjusted to their new life better than Jake had expected. Tom visited every few weeks to check on their health, and he'd figured out how to make artificial energy crystals that helped keep them strong. They weren't as good as the real ones from their home world, but they worked well enough. Luna had started school with human children and was already one of the best students in her class. Her teachers said she had a natural gift for languages and music. She could speak perfect English now, though she still talked to Sky in their own language when they thought Jake wasn't listening. Sky was more interested in plants and animals. He had a small garden where he grew vegetables and flowers, and somehow everything he touched seemed to grow bigger and healthier than normal. Jake suspected it had something to do with his alien abilities, but Sky just said the plants liked him. "Daddy Jake," Luna said, climbing onto his lap. "Tell us the story about Mama and Papa again." This had become their bedtime tradition. Every night, Jake would tell them stories about their parents, their home world, and the life they'd had before. The war, he wanted them to remember where they came from, just like he'd promised Vera. "Well," Jake began, "your Mama and Papa lived in a beautiful city that floated in the clouds, ... As he told the familiar story, Jake watched the children's faces light up. They loved hearing about the crystal gardens, the singing waterfalls, and the way their father had made their mother laugh every day. "Were we happy there?" Sky asked. "Quietly. Very happy," Jake said. "You were both your parents' greatest joy. Are we your greatest joy too?" Luna asked with the direct honesty that only children have. Jake felt tears prick his eyes. "Yes, little star, you absolutely are." Later that evening, after the children were asleep, Jake sat in his study looking at the photos Tom had taken. Of their progress, Luna learning to ride a bike, Sky showing off his garden, both of them laughing as they played in the yard. Looked like normal, happy children, and that's exactly what Jake wanted for them. On his desk sat Vera's crystal, the one that had contained all the military information. Tom had given it back to him after the war ended, saying it belonged with the family. Sometimes Jake would hold it and remember Vera's voice, her courage, and the way she'd trusted him with the most precious things in her life. There was a soft knock at his door, and Sky peeked in. "Daddy Jake, I can't sleep." "Come here, buddy," Jake said, opening his arms. Sky climbed onto Jake's lap and snuggled against his chest. "I miss Mama tonight," I know, Jake said softly. "I miss her too, but I'm glad we have you," Sky said. "Mama told me in my dream that she picked you. Especially for us?" Jake smiled, thinking that sounded exactly like something Vera would say. "Well, I'm glad she did. I can't imagine my life without you and Luna. Will you always be our daddy?" Sky asked, with a child's need for reassurance. always, Jake promised. Nothing will ever change that. As Sky fell asleep in his arms, Jake thought about how much his life had changed. A year ago, he'd been a soldier with no family, no real purpose beyond following orders. Now he was a father, responsible for two amazing children who brought joy and wonder into every day. Sure, there were challenges. Luna sometimes had nightmares. About the dark ones, Sky occasionally got overwhelmed by feeling too many emotions from other people. And Jake still had no idea how to handle some aspects of raising alien children. But they figured it out together, day by day. Tom helped with the medical stuff. The children's school was understanding about their special needs, and the small community on Haven Ridge had welcomed them with open arms. Daddy Jake. Luna appeared. In the doorway, her hair glowing faintly in the dim light. "Can't sleep either?" Jake asked. She shook her head and climbed up on his other side. "I want to tell you something." "What's that little star? I remember when Mama first saw you, she told Sky and me that you had a good heart and would keep us safe." She was right. Jake felt his eyes fill with tears. "Your mama was a very smart woman. She said something else, too," Luna continued. "She said that families aren't just made by being born together. Sometimes the best families are made when people choose to love each other." "That's true," Jake said, holding both children close. "So even though we look different and come from different planets, we're still a real family, right? The realest family there is," Jake assured her. As both children drifted off to sleep in his arms, Jake looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there was the world where Vera and the children had been born, the world they might never see again. But here, on this peaceful planet, they were building something new. Luna stirred in her sleep and whispered, "Love you, Daddy Jake. Love you too, little star," he whispered back. Sky mumbled something in his alien language, and Jake caught the words for family and home. Jake realized that home wasn't a place or a planet. Home was wherever your family was, wherever you were loved and needed and safe. He'd learned that from a desperate alien mother who trusted him with everything she held dear. Looking at his sleeping children, Jake knew that Vera's sacrifice hadn't been in vain. Luna and Sky would grow up knowing they were loved, knowing their heritage, and knowing that they could be anything they wanted to be. They were his children now, and he was their father, not because of blood or genetics, but because of choice. Love and the promise he'd made to a dying woman under a starlit sky. And that was the most beautiful family story he could imagine.